Hi, I'm Anna, and this is an introduction to Yin Yoga. So a reasonably short practice where we mainly do postures where we're lying on the ground or stay quite close to the ground, holding slightly longer than other styles of yoga, up to a few minutes. So let's begin on the ground. The props that you'll need are a bolster ideally, but if you haven't got a bolster, you can just take a few cushions and mimic what the bolster is doing with a few cushions. Otherwise, actually, if you've got another yoga mat, you could use a yoga mat rolled up with a blanket over the top as your bolster. A cushion, and again, I've got a brick, but that could just be a cushion. Okay, so firstly, having your bolster or your imitation bolster with something underneath it to lift your chest up. We're going to be lying back onto it. So just taking your pelvis to the end of your bolster, soles of the feet together, and coming back to lie with your palms facing up and closing the eyes here. So this is a beautiful posture to open up the hips, open up through the shoulders. So allow your shoulders to just melt over the bolster, settling down into this yin state. So grounding down through the sit bones, feeling the body heavy. So yin is the opposite of yang. And this practice of yin, which is slow, self-nurturing, calming, is becoming really popular, I think, because it's the balance or the counterbalance of the yang, which is dynamic and active. So if we think of our modern lives that many of us live, it's active, it's striving, it's creative, doing. And this yin state is its opposite. So as we come to rest in these postures, we're moving away from the doing state and into simply being, the being state rather than the doing state. So as you relax here, just coming to focus on your body breathing. Noticing the ribcage expanding out to the sides, back to the centre. Allowing all of your weight to be released down. As thoughts come into the mind, allow them to float up and away, a bit like helium balloons flying up to the sky, knowing that you can pick them up whenever you choose to at a later date. So coming into this yin state is about coming to a place of deep rest. It's a bit like topping up our batteries, rebooting our system. When we rest in this way, then we have more to offer when we come back to our more dynamic aspect of our life. Okay, and then slowly preparing to come out of this posture, just taking the hands under the knees, lifting the knees together, and then rolling to the side. And we'll come into Bananasana. So using either your bolster or your version of a bolster, and turning it across your mat now. Coming onto your left side, or your right, either way. We'll be doing both sides, so it doesn't really matter which side we come to. So if you think of the shape of a banana, you've got the legs and the arms are nice and straight. And you're just taking the bolster into the side of the waist, the idea being that we're opening up through the top side of the waist. If you need to, you can have a slight bend in the knees, just to help with the balance. I remember the first time I came into this posture, I found it quite clunky finding a comfortable version of it. So if you're feeling like that, just play around with where the bolster is. And it's amazing, just after a minute or so of being in it, the body settles in and begins to open up down the muscles, the intercostal muscles, particularly of that top waist facing up to the ceiling. And the body begins to open slowly. So there's a lovely little phrase in Yin Yoga which is, our issues are stored in our tissues. So all of our thoughts and tensions of the mind can be stored in the body. There's a view that every thought that we have has a physiological effect in the body. So that's great if things are ticking along really nicely for us, but of course all of us will encounter challenges in our lives. That can be stored in the connective tissues of the body, into the organs of the body, and can potentially create blockages in not only the physical body but also the energetic systems of the body as well. The electromagnetic currents or circuits which flow through the body and through the organs. So these postures are working on different electromagnetic routes flowing through the body, freeing up different aspects of them, as well as working on the physiological level of the physical body, the connective tissues particularly. So just coming to the other side when you're ready, pressing down with your top hand into the ground and just swapping over to the other side just by rolling over and finding a comfortable position again. Settling in, finding your place of stillness once you've come into the posture. So one of the principles of Yin Yoga is this sense of finding stillness. You can think of Yin as halfway between postures or asana and meditation. So as we come into the posture, we can just focus back on the breathing. In this posture, maybe noticing it mostly around the upper side of the waist. And focusing in also on the sensations of the body as it rests in the posture. So where do you feel tension? Could we release that area of tension? And where does our mind go when we're asked to do so little? So noticing wherever the mind goes with an attitude of acceptance, non-judgment on ourselves. So focusing on coming to a place of ease in these postures, moving away from any sense of striving, needing to do anything better than you're doing it right now. Really relaxing through the body. And then taking your top hand and pressing down into the ground and slowly coming up to sitting. So coming to sit on your sit bones now and taking whatever bolster style thing that you're using, coming into butterfly posture. A really nice one for the hips and the back and the shoulders. A few options here. So taking the soles of the feet together, and you could just come to fold forward, taking the hands under the feet and slowly sinking forward here. Or you could have your bolster, cushion, blanket, whatever it is, on your feet and resting forward here. Or if that feels a little low and you're more sort of high up here, you could have one end under your forehead, the other end on your feet. Here. Okay. So I'm going to come to this version and just resting down here. So releasing particularly through the upper back, middle of the back. Also releasing in the lower back around the kidneys. And the kidneys are a really key area in Yin Yoga. It's said that these meridians or energy lines pass through the kidneys. And the kidneys house our essential energy or Jin, so-called prana in the Indian perspective on yoga. Yin, this practice of Yin, is taken from the Chinese philosophy of Taoism, which is talks about Jing energy, but it's all coming from a very similar place. So the kidney is said to house our Jing energy. The thing is, when we become a little depleted, if our life has become very yang at this time, very busy, it can come to tax our kidney energy, the Jing energy. But the good news is that we can focus on stimulating this area, help the energy flow more freely to the kidneys, and that can top up our energy reserves. So focusing on completely releasing here. Feeling the body heavy. And then when you're ready, just coming up to sitting. Okay, and then coming to Anahatasana or melting heart posture. So taking the knees under the hips, the palms coming out in front of you, and just lowering the chest down to the ground. So you can either have your chin on the ground looking forward, or take the forehead down to the ground. So having the chin forward is a little stronger on the neck. So beginning with the forehead resting on the floor. So as this melting heart posture suggests, we're focusing on opening through the heart center. And these heart openers, back bends, really can free up not just the connective tissues and the musculature around the heart, but also the energetic systems around the heart, so we can feel more open, connected to others after this kind of practice. All we need to do is feel nice and heavy. Release through the shoulders and rest here. Slow, steady breathing. calming down the central nervous system, moving from the yang side over to the yin side. And then pressing down into the hands, coming back into a child's pose. So taking a nice wide knee child's pose, sinking the hips back and taking this right hand under the left. So we're coming into a child's pose twist. You've got the left palm facing forward, the right arm coming underneath, and just relaxing into your right shoulder. If this feels a bit much for any reason, you could have a cushion under your right shoulder. Into here, or maybe a block just to lift the shoulder up if it doesn't touch the ground. Or just keeping the arms forward in a traditional child's pose, if you prefer. So a few nice long deep breaths into the right shoulder. So where does the mind go when you're asked to do so little? Could you just focus on breathing? In this posture, particularly in the back or the abdomen, you'll feel that. And pressing down into the left hand when you're ready. Just swapping over to the other side, maybe taking your pillow over to the other side. Settling in here, feeling that lovely opening through the shoulders, through the middle of the back. And then pressing down into your right hand and just coming up here. Okay, coming forward into dragon. So this is a nice open of the hips. A few options here. So taking your right foot forward, hands grounding down into the floor. So you may find you're on the fingertips here, or maybe the palms pressed down into the ground. Making sure you've got your right knee over your ankle, not further forward than the ankle. So this is your first option. You could have a bolster or some padding underneath your arms and come down into the arms here, slightly more strong opening into the hips there, and down the front of the left thigh. Or you could take your hands down into lizard posture, where you've got the forearms on the ground. So finding the version that works for you. Coming to here, I think for me today. Either closing the eyes or focusing on a point on the ground in front of you. So in everyday life, if we were in this posture, we might be looking around the room instead of looking at one point, but the reason that we try to have a drishti point or a gaze point in all of these postures is it helps to slow the mind down. And in the Yoga Sutras, the ancient yogic text, they talk about chitta vritti nirodha, Yoga quietens the thoughts or fluctuations of the mind. And one of the ways that it does that is by developing our powers of concentration, or dharana, one of the 8 limbs of yoga, 8 parts of yoga. So by concentrating on something, in this case, with the eyes focusing on something, tuning into the breath, helps to slow the mind down and helps to draw us into the present moment, helping us to appreciate our lives rather than be living in the future or in the past. Okay, and then swapping over sides when you're ready, so taking that right leg back, and you might like to lift up into downward facing dog. Just taking one leg and then the other down to the ground, stretching out through the backs of the legs. And then coming over to the other side, taking that left foot forward, and just finding your position on the other side. So settling in here on the other side. And you might like to come to the 6-6 breath in any of these postures that you find more intensive. So inhaling for 6, exhaling for 6. Pressing down into the hands, just releasing the legs back. And taking the bolster out of the way, if you had one. Let's come down into Sphinx or Seal. So you've got 2 options here with the back bend. So taking the forearms down to the ground. So slightly more accessible option is Sphinx. Palms pressing down into the ground, forearms are straight. And just drawing the hands towards your body, so you're opening up through the chest. That's your first option. Otherwise, coming into Seal with the palms pressed down into the ground, slightly turning the hands out about the width of your mat, and then lifting up a little higher here, a bit stronger in the lower back. Nice strong opener in the kidney area. So you might have started with one of the 2, Sphinx or Seal, and you might like to change over to the other halfway through. So if you started in Seal, you might like to come down to Sphinx, or vice versa. And then just lowering the head down to the mat, making a pillow with your hands, forehead resting on one of the backs of the hands. Coming into crocodile posture, which helps to neutralise the spine. And then taking the hands either side of the head, lifting up. And then coming to sit on your sit bones. And taking the bolster and placing it on the inside of your right leg. So inside the right leg. Now you might like to lift your hips up here if this feels a little strong, this posture. Okay, so we've got the bolster on the inside of the right leg, taking the right arm alongside the bolster, lifting the left arm up and over. So lovely strong stretch down the left side of the body, opening into the intercostal muscles. Just returning to your nice long deep breaths. If this feels a bit much for you, your option could instead be having your hands either side of your right leg. Slowing into this yin state, counterbalance to the yang of most of our everyday lives. And then coming over to the other side when you're ready. So taking the left arm alongside the bolster, on top of the bolster, lifting up and over, and then opening this top shoulder to the sky. Your other option is to have the hands either side of your left leg. So one of the first yamas or principles of yoga is ahimsa. Non-violence, non-harming. So in all of these postures, just coming into them just enough that you can feel a benefit to them, but not so much that we dip into any sense of serious discomfort, certainly not into any strong, sudden sensations in the body. A kind of dull opening of the body is generally a positive opening of the connective tissue, the muscles. And then just coming up to sitting when you're ready. Coming into shoelace. So taking the block to the side and taking your right leg out in front of you, the left leg over the top. And this is your first option, so sinking forward here. Lovely opener for the back of the leg. If you have the openness in the hips, you could take that leg underneath back round to the outside of your left hip, and then just come to sink forward here. So you could also have your bolster or something under your head, so that you're not having to make any effort here. Just finding the version which works for you, and if that's a bit too much, continue to have the right leg outstretched in front of you. So there's no striving here, no competition with the self. Some of the nicest things about yoga are entirely non-competitive with others or with any sense of our own practice. Maybe we've practiced a few weeks before and it's been quite different in the body. Just trying to be non-grasping, non-possessive over things which have happened in the past that we liked or didn't like. And coming up to sitting, swapping the legs over. Right leg over the left. Remembering your options here, stacking the knees, folding forward. Maybe taking that left leg around the back so we've got the knees stacked over each other, opening into the hip. Coming back to that slow, steady breathing. And sending your breath into any areas of resistance in the body. You may find that in the right hip in this position. Gradually the body unravels, opens. Opening into the hips. And then coming up to sitting. Okay, extending the legs out in front of you, caterpillar posture. So a few options here again. You can have the legs just extended with the hands alongside the body. So if you're used to other styles of yoga, you may be used to holding the feet and pulling the feet towards you. In Yin, we're just relaxing everything here. So you're just sinking the head down, no effort required. Or you can take the bolster onto the legs, holding onto the end of the bolster, or maybe having the hands here wherever it's comfortable. And then resting the head down. Releasing down the whole of the back and the neck. And letting go of any tension in the back. Again, with that posture, you could stay there maybe up to 5-10 minutes. But for now, just coming to lie down on the ground. So coming into a simple spinal twist. So, taking the knees over to the left-hand side. So you could come to just have the hands out to the side and rest here. Some people like to have a cushion between their legs just to make it a little easier. Or if your knees don't reach the ground, having a cushion or a bolster behind you will also make it a bit more restorative. And then just turning the head away from your knees if that's all right for your neck. Otherwise, keeping the neck straight. So relaxing, particularly here through the lower back. Feeling the shoulders flatten down on the ground, nice and heavy. Our last posture before final relaxation. Allowing the ground to take all of your weight. And again, taking the knees over to the other side and resting here. Maybe turning the head away from the knees. And again, you can always pause this and stay in any of these for slightly longer. Sending a breath into the lower back if that feels like there's a bit of resistance there. And then coming back to the centre. Coming into a final relaxation, so you could take the feet out to the sides like this, taking the palms up into Shavasana. Or if you do have a prop, you could place it under your knees, maybe placing a blanket or a pillow under the knees, just allows the lower back to settle a little more. Palms facing up. Maybe you have a blanket or eye pillow as well. So feeling the whole of the body nice and heavy. Deep sense of weight and spaciousness through the body. So Yin helping us to create space through the joints, the connective tissues of the body, but also in our mind, having more of a sense of spaciousness, less thoughts running round our minds, helping us create more space in our lives as well. So staying here for as long as you choose to, coming into a deep state of rest and relaxation. I'll leave you here. Thank you for joining me for this introduction to Yin practice. And Namaste.